We're at the end of January and I saw two more movies in theaters. Let's talk about them. First up, we got Send Help, directed by Sam Raimi, and I have to say, I had a fun time with this one. I am a huge Raimi head, and I think this is his way of tapping back into, like, the roots of his horror thriller kind of campiness. Not that we didn't get that with some of his Doctor Strange movie, but Send Help felt very reminiscent of his 2009 film, Drag Me to Hell, which is way more straightforward with its respective genre. While I didn't like this as much as something like Drag Me to Hell, I do think Send Help is a great popcorn thriller movie. It's got all the Raimi quirkiness that most people love, the cinematography, the editing, the violence. This one is really carried by its two leads. Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien are both great, and I love seeing them on screen together. Even if they're not given the best material to work with, they're both giving it 110% and just chewing up the scenery, which I can always commend. With that being said, I do think they could have used this premise and took it even more extreme. I think the overall premise of this movie wasn't fully realized, and I wasn't too big on where this movie ends up going. And no spoilers, but there is kind of like a twist towards the end of the movie, and I was getting some M. Night vibes. Like, it's not as silly or outlandish, but it was getting in that territory. Honestly, I don't have much else to say. Like, it's goofy, but it's not taking itself too seriously, and it knows exactly what kind of genre movie it is. Wish I could have liked it more, wish I could have went more for it, but I'm glad we're getting Raimi project still. This one gets a solid 6 out of 10, 3 stars for me, with a heart though. I also saw Iron Lung, directed by Mark Fishbach, aka YouTuber Markiplier. To say, I'm always intrigued when content creators, especially YouTubers, make the transition to filmmaking. Honestly, I was reminded a lot about my feelings towards Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks. It's a commendable first feature film for sure, but there's a lot left to be desired. Like, I see the potential for Markiplier as a filmmaker, but there's plenty of room for him to grow. Because overall, there's still an amateur quality to this movie, and it's holding it back, and I don't mean in like a charming scrappy way. I mean in like a this feels like a high budget YouTube video kind of way. That's not to say it's devoid of quality. Like, I think it is very well presented. There's some cool production design, set design, practical effects, and sound design especially stood out to me. But otherwise, that's kind of the positives for me. Because what's really holding this movie back is its screenplay. It is rough, and this project is working with a very weak script. Most of the dialogue is just Markiplier yelling cursing, or intentionally vague conversations between him and another character that you barely see. Being so for real, this narrative is simply not substantive enough to fill a 2-hour runtime, let alone a feature film runtime. I could always get down with a bottle movie or a very contained, small-scale story, but this was not it. The experience of watching Iron Lung is like watching a Let's Player play a game and they're just stuck on the same mission for like 2 hours. I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic, like this is what it felt like. I don't know anything about Iron Lung, the video game, but this is not selling the property to me, and I feel like I didn't get a good sense of what this universe or what this game is even like. If there's any Iron Lung heads out there, let me know, because I might be missing something. Yeah, honestly, I was disappointed by this one. Kind of like my feelings with Send Help, I was expecting a lot more craziness. Like, when you see that backdrop image, you expect like bloody awesomeness, which you get by the end, but it's too late. Too little too late, and not satisfying enough. Unfortunately, it gets a very generous 2 stars. Yeah, that's the best I can give it. Okay, bye.